Okay, so what I figured out was the last couple videos, for whatever reason, my computer just decided, well, really Audacity just decided, hey, what if we switch your microphone input to your actual laptop? So that's why the audio sounds like that. And I didn't know that until I was editing and putting them out. But I wasn't going to re-record because that was an hour worth. Like, I recorded those last 3 videos in the same session. Like, that was an hour worth of recording. And I was like, no. I'm just not going to redo that. But what I'm here to talk about today is, like, just as I've gotten older, I'll be 24 this year. What I learned was professionalism and just setting yourself up on a routine is just very important to habit forming and being able to operate in life as an adult. Because I think what happens is, like, you're on a schedule whether you like it or not when you're in school. And then when you get out of high school, you kind of go towards self-sufficient planning. You know what I mean? Like, in college, it's like you can go to class. You kind of don't have to. Like, nothing's going to happen to you per se if you don't most of the time. And it's one of those things where, like, if you weren't a person that was on a schedule, like we were on a schedule. I was on a pretty strict schedule from, like, with my mom, but I kind of stretched the limits of that as a kid. And I'm still getting in the habit of having my schedule now, but it's just like even my piecemeal schedule that I have and making sure that I do this and this time and this at this time and trying to hit these things during the day and during the week. I still struggle with it because I've just always been like that. Like, it's always been one of those things where I procrastinate to the last minute. I've always been good enough to get it done. And it's just not like that in the adult world. Like, it affects one thing that I always I never really cared about necessarily, like, when I'm talking about professionalism, the first thing we think about is, like, with our jobs, right? Obviously. And it's one of those things where, especially if you don't consider your job a profession, like, if it's not a career path for you yet, like, if you're just working to make money, it's hard to care about it enough to, like, want to be there early and make it so that 10 minutes early is right on time and right on time is late, and getting your uniform ready to go the night before, and being able to wake up right at 6 o'clock so that you can have everything done and be in the car by 7:30 when you got to get there at 8. You know, it's one of those things, leaving home early enough so that you beat traffic even on the days where there isn't any traffic, so you're just sitting out there early. It's hard to do that. It's hard to get in the habit of that, especially when you're not used to that. But the reason why it's so important is it sets the foundation for everything else you choose to do. What I've noticed is, like, there's a certain vibe and a certain mojo that comes along with being a habitual procrastinator, and then there's a totally different aura and energy and vibe surrounding yourself and surrounding your life circumstances when you are a habitual disciplinary. You know what I mean? Like, when you do things for the sake of, not necessarily because, like, it might not be that. I was always of the mind that, like, I don't care about these companies like that. I'll probably be on the run to another job in a year or two anyway, so it doesn't matter. But it's like, that's not what you're doing it for. What you're doing it for is so that you're on a schedule. You're doing it to prove something to you. Punctuality is not necessarily for your employers or your coworkers. It's for you. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing with the way you structure cleaning up your room. It's the same way with the way you structure studying, getting work done. If you have, like, a hobby, making sure that you know what I mean, if there's a certain if there's certain days or times in which you want to do it, make sure that it's like, okay, I'm doing it this time on these days. Everybody, including myself, knows that's what this time is blocked out for. It's one of those things where it's like, especially when you don't have a lot going on, you can kind of flex it and move in between it and go with the flow with it. But it just feels different when you have it on a string, when it's something that you're doing almost in a flow state to where you stop even thinking about it. You just know it has to be done when it feels like it's time. Like if you record every day at 7:00, it'll start to feel like you'll if you record every day at 7:00, at 6:40 you're gonna be looking at the clock, even if you have been busy doing something, like, you know what I mean, and lost track of time. Like it'll feel like it's about 7:00 once you start doing it every day. And I want you guys, if you're not like very disciplined or if you're not on a set schedule, try it and you'll understand what I mean. When I say like it'll like your body will start waking you up early in the morning. If you take a nap during the day and you have to record at a certain time, your body will start waking you up almost when it's time without you even having to set an alarm. If you're consistent enough with it, like the consistency brings about a totally different energy. And so if you're not happy with the way the energy feels or the way life feels sometimes getting into that professionalism, as I like to call it, because I'm using that word for a job setting and using that as an example, but professionalism, like making life almost your profession, making it so that your interests and the way you live on a day-to-day basis, like be a pro at that. Be a pro at being able to live. Be a pro at being able to structure your stuff and getting it done right on time when it needs to get done. And just see how the vibe changes around you, bro. See how you start talking to people different, where it's just like, the way you even make plans, where it's just like, okay, no, I have something to do at this time. I do this usually. Like, people will start, even your own friends will start looking at you like, oh, wow, you're really dedicated to this. Like, being dedicated to something just changes it. It changes the way you speak to people. It changes the way you think about your day, about your week, about your months. It gives you tangible things to look at to say, this was right. You know what I mean? Or this wasn't right. And when you have a grasp on what's going right and what's not going right, I think when you can see it, when you don't let it become like a jumbled mess, it makes it easier to clean up. It's like your room, right? Like if you clean your room, even if you don't get it spotless every day, if you just keep it tidy every day, if you don't let the trash build up, if you make up your bed, even if it's not every day, like most days throughout the week, if you make sure clothes have a place to go and that this has a place to be on your shelf and you're putting this here when you're not using it, and when you're doing that, it makes cleanup day on Saturday a lot easier and take a lot less time. And it's the same thing with life. When you have your life cleaned up, like it makes it so that when you do get off track and when you're not feeling that great for a little stretch of time, when it's time for you to pull yourself back out of that funk, it doesn't feel as much of an uphill battle. You know what I'm saying? Because you didn't let things spiral. And the only way that you don't let things spiral is when you can structure it. Because even if, say you have 10 things that you do on a daily basis, right? Or on a weekly basis. If your week goes to shit and you can't get to 9 of them, there's almost always at least one thing you can still do. You know what I mean? Like if you had car issues, right? And car issues took you away from, let's say, like going to church, going to the gym. It made you have to change around your travel schedule for work. It made you have to like go and spend a little extra money than you wanted to at the store this week because you got to have stuff. in the house for, you know what I mean, while you're trying to save back up to get your car fixed, or you're waiting on your next paycheck or whatever, you know what I mean? If all of those things went wrong, right, the thing you could fall back on is, well, I know we record a podcast on Fridays at 8 o'clock. Or I know that I come home and I record every day at 7 o'clock. Or I know that I come home and I stream every day at 7 o'clock. Like, it's one of those things where sometimes those things may even get thrown to the side because you're just not there. But most of the time, you see people stream or make videos or do stuff like that in the middle of their whole week or their whole month going completely down the drain, because it's the one thing that they can rely upon, that they can do on a consistent basis, that they're used to doing, that can bring some kind of normalcy back to the situation. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the point in even developing that. That's the point in having that in the bag. That's the point in cultivating those kind of skills. It's not necessarily just so that, oh, you can look good for a job, or so that you can tell people that you're disciplined, or like, it don't even have to be nothing like that. It don't even have to be for the things that people tell you. It don't have to be to get rich. It don't have to be to even like lose weight or anything like that. It just needs to be the vibe around my life. I want to control the ups and downs more than I can already. That's the perfect way to put it. That's the perfect way to put it. That's what I'm really trying to say with this video. And I hope that came across in the messaging. So, appreciate it, man. We're back with the correct mic this time. Thank y'all for watching. Peace.